Great. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I know it was supposed to be good morning. We were supposed to start at 10:30, but then some things came up at home and couldn't start in the morning. So then I thought I'll just start at 12 o'clock. Glad you could all join. I really hope we have a few more joining because today we're going to be covering some important things which are pretty useful and pretty commonly used. These are not things that you will never use at work. It's pretty commonly used. And once you learn how these are used, it will definitely help you at your work. So without wasting much time, let us begin. You can open the Excel files that you have been sent. If ever anyone doesn't have the file, please let me know and I can send it to you right now in the chat option. I hope everyone has got the file. Chipo, if you're there, can you please let me know if you can see my file? Okay, I think he's great. Okay, fine. You can see it. Now, so let's begin. The first thing that we saw in our Zoom link is that we're going to use if and VLOOKUP. You all would have seen the if formulas. I'm hoping that those who were not there last week would have gone through the if formula which was there in the video. So the if formula is a very, very simple thing. I will just show it to you quickly right now, just as a refresher. So I'm putting, there's nothing in this cell here. You can see it's an empty cell. I'm just putting the number 5. Okay, that's all there is to 5. We're going to put a simple if formula to see if there is a 5. So is equal to, as you know, all formulas in Excel start with an is equal to if this, the logical test. There are 3 parts for the if formula. First is a logical test. Then what is the value that should be displayed if it is true? And third, what is the value that should be displayed if it is false? So the logical condition, if this is equal to 5, then what is the logical condition? Is this equal to 5? What is the value that should be shown? Yes. As I said last week and the week before that, any text that you put in Excel has to be in double quotes. So we're putting a text that has to be shown here, yes, which is why we put in double quotes here. And we're putting a no if the value is false. You press enter, yes. Excel is recognizing that this formula, if this is equal to 5, it has to show yes, else a no. Which means if I'm changing the 5 to a 6, it will be a no. If I'm changing the 5 to 50, it's still a no. If I'm changing it to 4, it's still a no. Only if I put 5, it's a yes. That's just a very simple explanation of an if formula. Now, we're not going to be looking at VLOOKUP and index match again, but what we're going to be looking at is a combination of the if and VLOOKUP. So let's look at the data first that is there before us. You have employee codes, you have the first name of employees, you have the second name of employees, you have certain departments. So you can see there's accounting, there's purchase, there's engineering, there's audit. I believe it's 4, yeah, only 4 departments you have. And then you have the salaries of these employees, you have the number of years in the company. So for example, Mr. Paul has been there at the company for 5 years, Kevin has been there at the company for 11 years, and you have the emirate of residence here. So some of them stay in Sharjah, some in Dubai, some in Ajman, some in Abu Dhabi. And you have 2 columns here. You have VLOOKUP, you have index match, and it's showing percentage of deduction. So what we have here is 2 different data that we're going to use for VLOOKUPing here. Salary less than 5,000 percentage deduction. What this means is that if the employee's salary is less than 5,000, then the percentage that would be deducted for an employee who's living in Dubai is 15%. If the salary is greater than 5,000, then the percentage of the salary that's deducted for an employee who's living in Dubai is 25%, and so on and so on. So this here, this data would mean that if the employee's salary, which is there in column F, if it is greater than 5,000, then the percentage that is deducted from the employee who's living in Ajman would be 50%, Abu Dhabi would be 20%. If the salary is less than 5,000 and the employee is in Ajman, it's 40%. So you can definitely do VLOOKUP. Now, let us say this greater than and less than 5,000 thing was not there. You were only given this data. then it was pretty easy to VLOOKUP, right? You would just have to do is equal to VLOOKUP Sharjah. Take from here. If it's Dubai, take from here, and that's all that would happen for VLOOKUP. But we have to check if the salary is less than or greater than 5,000. So let's do something. Let's just make it if the salary is less than or equal to. Okay, salary is less than or equal to 5,000, then there's the deduction. So let's start. What we're going to do is an if formula along with a VLOOKUP formula. What we want is this. If this salary, so let's say this 1,000 here. So 1,000 meaning it's less than or equal to 5,000, which means the data would have to be taken from here. So since the salary is less than 5,000, we would have to VLOOKUP Sharjah from here, which should result in 20%. If this was 7,000, the value should be shown here as 30%. So let's start. Is equal to, if we start with an if formula, because we have a logical test. Is this figure less than 5,000 or greater than 5,000? So if this is less than or equal to 5,000, what should happen in this case? We have to do a VLOOKUP. So the value if true is VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, we want to VLOOKUP this particular Sharjah from this table. So we click on Sharjah and comma, and we go to this table. We want to select this entire table here because this is the table for the data if the salary is less than or equal to 5,000, comma, the column index number, that is where is my data, where is my end data, it's in 2, comma, false. We have entered the bracket for the first formula, which is VLOOKUP formula for the value if true, comma, we're going for the next one. What is the value that has to be shown if it is false, which means if it is not less than 5,000, what does it mean? It's greater than 5,000. So we would open the VLOOKUP again. VLOOKUP, we put again Sharjah and comma, and you go to this data, this table here. So you select that, you go to your column index number, which is 2, comma, you would select false because you want the exact same value. We have to close the bracket once to close this VLOOKUP, but then the if formula bracket is open here. So we close the bracket once again and you press enter, it's 20%. Let's check that right now. Here the employee is earning less than 5,000. The employee is staying in Sharjah. So less than 5,000 staying in Sharjah, 20% and 20%, which is correct. Let's change the 1,000 to a figure which is greater than 5,000, or let us make it 5,000 and see what happens. 5,000, it's still showing 20% because it's taking data from here. So what if I change the 5,000 to 5,001? You can see that this 20% has changed to 30% because the formula says that if the figure here is less than or equal to 5,000, it has to take the data from here. If not, the data has to be taken from this table. So here the value is greater than 5,000 and the value is taken from here, 30%, Sharjah 30%. I know it's a long formula, so let me write the formula with you again. Here, this was Sharjah. Okay, let's do for Ajman. Once again, we'll do the formula is equal to if. We start with if as a logical condition. The logical test is this less than or equal to 5,000, comma, value if true. So we'll start our VLOOKUP formula. VLOOKUP, what we want to VLOOKUP, we want to check Ajman, but we want to check in this table. Let's do something else right now because we did this as less than or equal to 5,000. Let's do it the reverse way. Is equal to if logical condition, this value is greater than 5,000 because it's the same logic, right? So what I'm going to do is greater than 5,000, we're going to VLOOKUP this table first, and then we're going to VLOOKUP this table, the value false. So if the value here is greater than 5,000, we are going to VLOOKUP Ajman from this data here, comma, column index number is 2 because our data is in column number 2, comma, you put false because it's an exact match. You close the bracket for the first VLOOKUP. Value if true is done. You put a comma, you have to put the value if false. So we again open the VLOOKUP. You have to look up Ajman. from here. And we select this table. You put a comma, column index number is 2, comma, false because you want an exact match. Close one bracket for the VLOOKUP, and then the if has opened here, right? So we're going to close the if bracket here and press enter. 50. Let's check if it's correct. What is the condition that we have? If the salary is greater than 5,000 and Ajman, it has to be 50 here. So yes, the Emeritus Ajman, the salary is greater than 5,000, which is why 50 is taken from here. So technically speaking, if I'm changing this value to 4,999, the value that should be shown here is 40%. Let's check that. I'm changing this value to 4,999, and you can see it has changed. Sorry. Okay. You can see that it has changed to 40%, which is this. Even if I change that to 5,000, it's still 40% because the data is coming from here. If I change that to 5,001, it's changing to 50 because the formula says that if the value here is greater than 5,000, then 50% has to be shown, which is here. That is if and VLOOKUP. We're going to look at VLOOKUP. We're going to look at if and index match next. If anyone has any doubts so far, please clarify it.
Cyrus, so I would like to ask one thing. Actually, can you just show that, I mean, the formula, the whole set of formula that you showed, in the formula tab or the bar, there's a function like insert function, something like that, no? Can you see that?
Yeah, on the
in the
top.
formula tab?
Yes.
So if you open that insert function, then that will give
Oh,
you the
you are telling me about this, the insert.
insert, then function, insert function. There's an insert function
Yeah,
in under the formula tab that
just
gives rise to like, or that shows you the whole list of formula that you type, because the formula that you type could be very, I mean, tedious for some people, like starters. Even it's tedious for
So,
me.
okay, so here is where we are looking at what you said, which is insert function.
Insert
And
function, yeah.
if is here. And
Yes.
okay,
So
let's do one thing. Let's open a new one, as in let's work here. So you go to formulas, you go to insert function, and you can see there's a lot of formulas here. You would
yes.
select if. Yeah, the if is the logical test value to the same formula we use now. We do okay. So what is the logical test that we have? We want to check if this figure here is less than or equal to 5,000. Fine. This figure is less than or equal to 5,000. What is the value if that is true? It has to VLOOKUP from this table. So we do VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, we open the bracket. The first value that we want to VLOOKUP is here, comma, the table array, which means the table where our data is here, comma, the data on which the column on which our desired value is there is column number 2. So you put 2 there, and then comma, you put false because you want the exact figure from here, exact data to be VLOOKUPed. Again, what is the value if it is false? That is, if this figure is not less than or equal to 5,000, what is the value that should be taken here? So we start with VLOOKUP. Again, you're going to look up the same value from here. Your table array is changing though, which is going to be from here. And the column number is still 2 because you want from the second column, you want your data, and you want to do comma false and close bracket. You press enter. Okay, let's just check false. If f11 is less than or equal to 5,000, we look up false. Okay, we have to close the bracket. That's what we didn't do because we opened the VLOOKUP bracket here. We have to close it here. Everything else seems okay. If I press enter, yeah, that's what happens. So 20%, let's check if it's correct. So it is Abu Dhabi and the salary is greater than 5,000. So Abu Dhabi salary greater than 5,000 has to be 20%, which is what is shown here. Is that clear, Basa?
Yes, now it's getting a little bit clear because I can see the, I mean, whole set of formula there in
Yeah.
different logic tests, then value, how does that fit, those values fit into that, I mean, required boxes. So, yeah, okay.
Mm. Okay. Does anyone has any doubt? Please let me know.
And one thing I would like to know a little bit on, actually, if you go to that formula tab again, so you
Okay.
got to see this evaluate formula. So how that can be used, like to see or to evaluate the formula that we are currently using.
Um, okay. Evaluate formula was something that we looked at in the first class. We look at it now. So when you look at evaluate formula, this is what shows. As in, you go to evaluate formula here,
Mm.
and let's do evaluation and let's see what happens. So when we see it's all one text, you press enter the formula functions. But what Excel sees is different. For Excel, there's a lot of true and false that happens. Let's see what happens. You click evaluate. So, okay, let me close and just start it again. Evaluate. If so, Excel recognizes that it's an if here, and that is why the underline is showing here. So wherever the underline is, that's what Excel is looking at the first step. F11. So Excel is checking what is an F11, 5100. Evaluate 5100 is less than or equal to 5000. So that's how Excel sees this. If 5100 is less than or equal to 5000, and Excel understands that this is not correct. So what it does is it immediately puts a false here and goes to the
Mm.
next formula, which means you can see this false VLOOKUP H11 is here. But this part has been declared as false by Excel here, which is why it immediately shifts to this part because we are given
Mm.
the command as any formula value false is here. So VLOOKUP H11, Excel starts with VLOOKUP H11, which is Abu Dhabi. So when I do evaluate, you can see Abu Dhabi is shown here, and it goes to look at O5 and P8 next. O5 to P8 is here. You do evaluate, and zero point 0.2 is the end value that is there. So zero point 0.2, well, 20% is here. You do evaluate and 20%.
Okay, no, yeah, it's clear now.
Okay. Does anyone have any other doubts before we move on to index match? We're going to do the exact same thing, but with index match. Okay. Assuming that we have no other doubts before we move on to if an index match, let's do the exact same thing that we did here, ditto, but with index match. Now, why index match is better than VLOOKUP, we're not going to be looking at that today's session because we already looked at that in detail in last week. So the same thing, if the logical condition, the salary is less than 5,000. What is the value of true? Instead of VLOOKUP, we're going to do index match. So index, as you remember from last week, the first column, as in where our data is, the where our end data is, we had to put that in index, which would be here. That is our index, which means that is the end column where our data is, comma, match. What is the lookup value? The same logic of VLOOKUP. What is the lookup value? It's here. Okay. Now, after that, the next one is the lookup array. Where is your lookup data? That would be here, comma, and in VLOOKUP there is true and false. In index match there is less than, exact match greater than. So when you put exact match, you get your exact result. Close one bracket for match, but you can see we open one bracket for index also. We close that bracket also, and you put a comma. Then this is for your, from here index to this bracket is for your value if true. You can see the if conditions, value if true is done. Next we have to put the value for, we have to put the argument for the value false. So index, we have to check the end data where our, the end column where our data is, which is here, and then you have to put match. What is the lookup value? It's in Sharjah, comma, Where is your desired column, Sharjah? It's here, comma, and you want an exact match. You have to close the bracket once for match, one more time for index, and then your if bracket was opened here. So you have to close that bracket also here, and you put enter. You can see it's 30%. We are going to look at that once again, is equal to if. Now what we're going to do is we are going to be looking at it the reverse way. What we did with VLOOKUP here was we looked at if this is greater than 5000 and we VLOOKUP this first, then this. So this was the data taken for the value of true. This was the data taken for value false. In the exact same way, we're going to work with index match. So is equal to if. What is the value of true? The value has to be taken from here. Shippu, my network connection is
It's kind of disturbing. I was just checking whether it was my fault or not. I think it's from your side.
okay. Okay, is it okay now? Now is it fine?
Yeah, it is fine. It is fine now. No, I think it's still there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, you can still see my screen, right?
yeah, we can see the screen. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I'll start explaining the if formula once again. Is equal to if. We're going to do the same logic as we did here. Instead of VLOOKUP, we're going to work with index match. So if this formula, if this figure here is greater than 5000, then we have to do index match. So index, where is our end data? It's here. The reason it's here and not here is because we want the value for greater than 5000, which is here. So greater than 5000, the value is here, comma, match. Where is the lookup value? The lookup value is here. Now, where is the column where your lookup value is? It's here. So we select that column and you put a comma, exact match. You close the bracket once for match, you close the bracket one more time for index. And then comma, we have to do the value if false. Now you can see the value false is not done.
So let's
So
wait.
we take
There's a net
index.
issue again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Was I stuck for a long time? Did you see
No,
till
no, no.
in?
Just from the index,
Okay,
the last part.
fine, fine, fine. Okay, fine. So I'll explain from the index again. You can see the value false has to be done next. So we're going for the value false, which has to be an index match taken from here. So index, where is the end data? The end data is here. And we do match because the lookup value is here. Now, where is the column where our lookup value is? It's here, comma, exact match you have to put. You close the bracket once for match, one more time for index, and then the if formula is still open here. So you have to close that with a bracket here. You press enter, you're getting 50%. 50 with VLOOKUP, 50 with index match. Now I'm going to show you an error that can happen here. So we're going to copy the formula from here. VLOOKUP index match, we're going to drag it all the way down, but you're going to see a name. Why is that? You can see that we did not select this data, right? Or you open this one. You can see that this was not the data that we selected. So the reason is, as we had spoken in the first class, what happens with Excel is it does relative referencing. As in, when I copy formula from here to here, you can see F5, which is in the formula here, and H5, which is in the formula here. I'm just copying that and pasting it here. It has changed to F6 and H6 here. That is relative referencing, which is what Excel does by default. The same logic goes for why these tables have shifted down. Here, what is happening is O5 to P8 is selected for the second one, O5 to P8, which is correct. But when I copy that formula down, you can see what is happening is O5 has become O6, P8 has become P9. And when I go here, you can see it has shifted so many columns down. Now, this is definitely that something that we don't want. So as we saw in the first class, we're going to be using absolute referencing, which means whenever there are any cells that we don't want changing, we have to put a dollar sign before the column and before the row. You can just play around with that and see actually if you put a dollar sign before the column, you will see that the column does not change. If you put it before the row does not change. But just to kind of lock it on, we're going to be putting it before the row and the column. So let's look at what are the values that we don't want changing. Do we want F5 to change? Yes, F5 has to change. Do you want H5 to change? H5 has to change, yes. L5 to M8 is this table which is behind this formula here. We do not want that to change. So I can put a dollar sign, but as I mentioned in the first class, we're going to be using shortcuts a lot. And the shortcut for putting the dollar is F4. So I put F4 and you can see a dollar sign has come before L and before 5. Similarly, I press F4 before M8, you can see a dollar has come before M and 8. Now, to false, we look up H5. Do we want H5 to change? Yes, H5 has to change. O5 to P8, we don't want that to change. So you put a brackets there too. Before O and before 5, there's a bracket. There's a dollar sign. And before P and 8 also, there's a dollar sign. You press enter. The value is not changing here, but when you copy that down, you can see that it's locked, as in wherever you copy this formula, it's going to be the same thing. So now we have locked this. It's not changing. The same thing we can do for index match also. F5 less than 5,000, we don't want that to change, but we want M5 to M8, we don't want that changing. Sorry, F5, we want that changing. M5 to M8, we don't want it changing. So I'll just put an F4 there, and I'll just put an F4 there. Match H5 to changing. We want L5 to L8 to not change. So L5 to L8. Index P5 to P8, which is here. We don't want Chabu, my net connection is so unstable. I don't know what happened today. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe there was
Fine,
a
fine.
slow
Thank you.
pace, but it was going on. Yeah, now it's completely stuck.
But you can hear me, right? Now it's hear me, right? Is it clear?
No, last few minutes are stuck.
Last few minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll explain the if formula again with the index. So in this formula, we don't want the sorry, we want F5 to change, because when you're copying the formula down, you want that this value here has to keep changing. So we're not putting a dollar sign here. You go to index and you want M5 and M8 to be locked on. You do not want that to change. So you put a dollar sign there, you put a dollar sign there, and H5. We are not going to put a dollar sign because we want H5 to keep changing. L5 and L8, L5 to L8, we're going to lock that too by using the dollar sign. Then index P5 to P8 also, we're going to lock with the dollar sign. Next, we have match H5. H5, it has to change because we're going to drag the formula down, but we do not want O5 to O8 to change. So we put a dollar sign there, a dollar sign there, enter. It's 30%. We have to just copy it down, and you can see that the value is correct. So let's just check randomly. This person here. So our two conditions are, is the person earning less than 5,000 or more, and where are they staying? So here, this person is earning less than 5 and they're staying in Ajman. which means less than 5 Ajman has to be 40%, which is showing us 40% for both VLOOKUP and index match. Let's check a value which is greater than 5, which is here. This person is earning more than 5 and an Ajman. So more than 5 and an Ajman has to be 50%, which is 50% here. So that concludes our if plus VLOOKUP and if plus index match. Does anyone have any doubts? We can clear it now.
Oh, so just to, jump into another topic, not very confined to, this VLOOKUP index. Last time, can I just put one thing?
I
Hello?
didn't. Yeah, I
Did you
didn't
hear
get you.
me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Last time, actually, I shared you one point that this Excel has a function, or let's say a function which is quite related to this VLOOKUP and index sort of thing. So if we could go to this data tab.
Okay.
Okay, if you go to data tab,
Data. Yeah.
you could see like the relationship. Can you just see that relationship
Relationship is
under
on my
this
left.
data tools group?
Data tools. Okay. So there
Data
is
under data tools, you could see this relationship box, right?
the relationship. I'm
It
not
seems
sure
well
where is
at the
that.
moment it seems to be deactivated, but
Okay. This one. You're saying, but this one.
okay. Yeah, relationship. Sorry,
Okay.
I don't see there, but I can see this in my computer laptop.
Okay.
So basically, that the function deals to address this VLOOKUP and the index sort of thing. So that's more of a like a what do you call this? I guess that function tries to address this the functions that we just talked before, but I have not tested that before. Maybe you could just try that and have a better output. Just add that.
Yeah. Pretty sure that would be a function that was really helpful. What I'm
Mm,
explaining is from the viewpoint of which are commonly used functions. Yeah. So VLOOKUP and index match are pretty commonly used functions. So that
right.
was the angle with which I'm approaching this. That is why we're just looking at this right now.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If anyone has any other doubts before we go on to the next, you can clear it now. We're going to look at VLOOKUP with multiple criteria next. Okay. Guessing that we're not having any more doubts, we're going to go to the multiple VLOOKUP. You can all shift to your sheet number 2. So when you shift to your next sheet, you can see there is VLOOKUP with multiple values. Now, here, these are obviously not the original prices from anywhere. These are just random figures that I have put. You can see there is gender, there is item description, and there is size, and there is price. So you have male and female, you have shirts and tuxedos and shorts for the males, you have tops and suits for the female, and you have each one of them large, medium, small. So you can see male shirt, large, medium, small, male tuxedo, large, medium, small, female suit, large, medium, small, and there are different prices. Let's say that you want to do a VLOOKUP for this. You only want to find out the values for these. You want to find out the value for the female top small. You want to find out male tuxedo large, and so on and so on. You want to find only the values for this. Now, as we saw in earlier sessions, of course, here, when your data is just few rows, like 10 rows here or 20 rows here, you can easily look at it and find out what the price is. But let's say your data is having thousands and thousands of rows, you're not going to be able to look at each line. So we have this very powerful combination of things that you can do in Excel, which will help you to find out using multiple criteria for VLOOKUP. Now, even though the Zoom link that you, sorry, even though the Zoom link that you got had mentioned we're going to do multiple VLOOKUP, and I'm also saying as multiple VLOOKUP, what we're actually going to be doing is multiple index match. So index match with multiple criteria. We have a method for doing the VLOOKUP with multiple criteria, but that is a method which I am not very sure of, which is why I'm not explaining that. But what I do know works properly is index match with multiple criteria. So let us begin. What we want is, we don't want to VLOOKUP just, we don't want to index match just the female from here, nor a top, nor a small. We want to index match three criteria: female from this column, top from this column, and small from here. And the end value that we want is female top small would be 73. So this would be here. Male tuxedo large, the price that should come here, male tuxedo large is 163. So let's just note that down here to check if you're getting the correct value. 163 and 73 is here. So female top small, 73, yeah. Now female suit medium. So female suit medium would be 104 here, and male shirt medium would be 109. Now let's see how we can do these with formulas. Is equal to index. As you know, index, the first thing that you need is where is your end result. Your end result is here, but you're going to select that column, and this is a new thing. Please note, we're going to be putting multiple criteria, so we need to put ampersand symbol. We're going to need the B column, and you're going to be needing to look up this column, and you need this column, and then comma. We're going to start the lookup process now. Lookup value, the female, you have to do in the particular order. You can't be doing top and then female and then small, because we have highlighted B, C, D. So in B, you have the female, in C, you have the top, in D, you have the small. So G5 and top and small, comma, lookup array. Oh, I think I did a small mistake. Sorry. Okay, index match sometimes get confusing. Let me restart the formula. What you need in indexes, the first thing that you have to put is, where is your end data? Your end data is here. This is your end data that you need. As you know, in index match, the first thing that you need is your end data, comma. You're going to start with match. The three values that you want to look up is female and top and small, comma. Your lookup array. Lookup array is going to be this and this and this. You have to make sure that you select it in this specific order, because you selected female here. The first value which has to come in your lookup array is here. The second value is H5, which is top. So the second value that you select for lookup array has to be here. Similarly, B, C, and D, comma. Match type, we want exact match. Now let's see how many brackets you have to close. You have to close one bracket for the match, one bracket for the index. So bracket number 1, bracket number 2, you press enter. And you can see it's 73. Now we're going to be just dragging the value down, and you can see 163, 104, 109. This is how we do a VLOOKUP. Well, basically, this is how we do an index match with multiple criteria. And you can also see that I have selected the entire column instead of just this data here, because I'm confident of the fact that there is no other tables down from which my data will be VLOOKUPed. So if you're sure that this is the only data you're going to work with, and you are not having any other data with any other values which are down, you can just select the entire column. There's no harm in that. That is how you do an index match with multiple values. If you have any doubts, please clarify it. We'll be going to the next section, which is AND, OR, and concatenate. I don't know. I know that it's a pretty complex and pretty long formulas, but once you get the hang of it, it'll definitely be a lot easier. If you want me to explain it again, that's fine.
Can I again have a small query?
Yeah.
Not particularly, I mean, yeah, looking at. So will we be discussing something on the pivot table function this time or next time or when?
Yeah, we'll be
Pivot
doing
table.
pivot tables function after the next session, which is AND, OR, and concatenate. So
Oh, I see.
after
Okay.
that
Okay.
section,
Fine.
then we'll be doing
Yeah.
this one, pivot
Yeah.
tables.
Because that'll be quite easy with that pivot table function. That's what. Okay. I was just thinking about this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do pivot tables today,
Right.
but I wanted to show you the multiple criteria function because there have been instances where I could not work around this with pivot tables. So then
Right.
I had to find a way where I had to use multiple criteria. That's why.
Right. Yeah. So this is a. I mean, this is a route to the understanding of the. I mean, what do you call the formula or the logics.
Yeah.
Once people are, I mean, familiar with this sort of logic, definitely they can work with the pivot table function.
Uh,
Yeah.
no, actually, pivot tables, you can work even without knowing all of this. So pivot tables, you can easily work without knowing any of these. But the reason we're working this is because once you understand the logic of this, when you get really big data to handle, it's much,
Right.
much easier. So that's
Okay.
why we're just going through these formulas here.
Yeah.
If there are any doubts that we have to be clear, we can do that. Like I said in the last class, there is no doubt that is too silly, no doubt that is too dumb. You can ask me any doubts. Okay, considering that we have no other doubts in this section, we're going to move on to the next section, which is mentioned on your Zoom links, AND, OR, and concatenate. So when you look at this data here in your sheet number 1, you can see there's employee code, first name, second name, etc., etc. Now you have first name and second name, but you don't have it as one name in one cell. That is where concatenate helps you. What you would do is, so let's say I want to combine both these. I'm going to just insert a column here and I'm going to title it as full name. Now, with this many names, you might think it's just easier to type it out, but no, concatenate does a much, much better job. So let's look at the formula is equal to concatenate, CONCATENATE. You can see the arguments are text1, comma, text2, comma, text3. So what is the first text that we need? The first text we need is the first name, comma. What is the second argument we have? Sorry, C5, comma, yes. The second argument that we have is Peter, the second name, comma, and you press enter, perfect. It has combined the first name, it has combined the second name. But then you notice a small issue. There's no space between the names, right? Let's just copy that formula down. You can see it has combined the first name and second name. So Noah, Jackson, Jeremiah Adams, it has combined that. But there is no space between the names. So we're going to be inserting a space between this. So text 1 is this, currently text 2 is D5. But what we're going to do is we're going to be putting text 2 as a space. Now you can't just put a space like that and leave it because as you know, any text that you put in Excel has to be in double quotes. So you're going to put double quotes, space, and close double quotes, comma, then you're going to put your second name. close bracket, and then you press enter, you get your full name along with the space in the middle. So now you can see there is a space between all the names: Tom Sawyer, Kevin Allen, David Copper. There's a space between the first name and last name, and you're combined. Now you might think, hey, the names are combined, I'll just copy Simon Peter to down. But what happens is copy, paste. It has become nothing. But there is a formula, right? When you do concatenate, it has come. That's what happens when you do relative referencing in Excel. So what you need to do, let's say you want to copy this entire name to somewhere else. You want to copy it to here, for example. You would have to go right click, paste special. So paste special means you can do a lot of functions here. You can do formulas, you can paste only formulas, you can paste formats, you can do your comments and notes. There are a lot of things that you can do in paste special, but the most commonly used one and something that people do not know exists is paste values. So you paste your values and you do OK. Now you can see the names are copied here along with the space. And these are not formulas here. When you double click, you can see there's no formula here. It's all proper names. That was concatenate. Does anyone have any doubts in that? If not, I would just have to explain one more thing in concatenate.
Sorry, one thing. Sometimes actually the names are written in full, like including both first name and the given name, no? And if I am interested, for example, if I am interested to just, I mean, look at only the surnames, so is there a way to just split that full name into like first name and then middle, I mean the second name? Is there a way?
Yeah, we will do that right now. So
Okay.
I'll just copy this one. I'm just copying that. I'm opening a new sheet here. I'm going to paste it as values. So paste. Okay, the values have gone. Let me just copy that again. Copy, and we go to sheet 2, and I do paste special, and we take values. Okay, so let's say now this is the data that's given to you, and you want to break it now. So we will look into this in detail later, but we're just going to look at how to do it. We're going to go to text columns. So what text columns does is, you have text, you want to break it into different columns. When you do text columns, so it's in data, and text columns is here. So there is delimiter, that is, you can choose what is the separating factor between the data, or a fixed width, which means at this measurement, uh, the data will be broken. So it's valuable when you have data which is consisting of numbers mainly. So when you go to delimited, you can go to next, and you can see that there's a lot of options here. You can choose a tab, you can choose semicolon, comma, space. What you have here is space, because we know that there's a space between the names. We do space and you click next, and you do finish. This is what happens. Your data, which was in one column, has been split to two columns now based on the space that is there between the names. Basan, is that clear now?
Yes, yes, thank you for that.
Okay, okay, fine. So we'll close that sheet for now. And I just want to explain one more thing, which is the same as concatenate. So concatenate is one way that you can combine the names here, but there's one more way that you can do it using the ampersand. So is equal to first name, that's the first thing that you want. You put an ampersand. There's the same thing that you put for the index match with multiple criteria. We're going to put a space here in double quotes. You're putting an and you're putting your second name. You press enter, you can see this is the exact same thing that concatenate does. Let's just copy that down. So looking at the formula, first name and double quote, space, double quote, and second name. So you can use ampersand for the same thing as concatenate. Just wanted to mention that as a side note. Next, we're going to be looking at the AND function. Before that, does anyone have any doubts?
Can you just repeat the same process once again? So, I mean,
Okay. You want me to explain with AND or the concatenate?
the one, I mean, the following the after concatenate.
Okay, fine. So we saw concatenate. What concatenate does is you can combine the values in two cells into one cell. The same way you can use your ampersand symbol, which is this symbol. So we're going to do with that is equal to the first thing that you want is your first name here. You're using the ampersand symbol. And if you do second name here, it looks perfect to us, right? The first name, second name, you press enter. The two names are combined. And if you drag that formula down, you'll see it's correct. The first name and second name is copied. It's merged into one cell. But this is not the end result that you want. What you want is a first name. There should be a space in the middle and then the second name, right? So first name and we're going to be putting a space. As we saw in previous classes, all text in Excel formulas have to be in double quote, space, double quote, and second name. If you copy that formula down, you can see that it has combined the first name, space, second name into one cell. Basan, is that clear?
Yes, clear now. Okay.
Okay.
Proceed.
Okay, fine. So before we move on to the AND or OR function, do we have any doubts? Okay, guessing we don't have any doubts. Let's look at and OR. I know that there will definitely be a lot of things which are new here, but you can take the time to just go through it later, if not now in the video. You can just, in the recorded video, you can just see them one by one. Any doubts you can ask me. So let's look at and OR. Now, you can open the third sheet. You will have a sheet which says and OR. When you open that sheet, you can see this data here. You can see these are the marks of students. This is definitely not my marks from any of my exams in my life because I never got scores like these. But these are just sample data. Um, you can see the student name is there, exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. And you can see there is a column here which is titled all 3 scores above 90 and another column here which says at least 1 above 90. Now, of course, if the data is only this much, you can just visually look at it and write yes or no. So if it's above 90, you can put a yes here. You can put a yes here too. Here it would be for Tom, if you look at the score, here it would be a no because all three are not above 90, but it would be here a yes because at least one is above 90. So let us think of this. We have an if condition. If the score in exam 1, exam 2, and exam 3 are above 90, it has to show yes in this cell, which is here. But if the condition is that either one of these, any one of these, if it is above 90, it has to show a yes here. If it is all, it has to show yes here. If it is at least one, it has to show yes here. Let's start the formula. Is equal to if. The logical test is this has to be above 90, this has to be above 90, this has to be above 90. Now, we're going to be using the AND function because the AND function helps us to combine logical formulas. Is equal to if and a logical test. You can see we are still in the logical test. We open and. Logical 1. What is the logical test 1 we have? This has to be greater than 90. Comma. The second logic that you have is this greater than 90. And the third logic you have is that is this greater than 90. And then you close a bracket for your AND. So a logical test is done. Value if true, which means if all these three values are greater than 90, what is the text that you want? Yes. If not, you want no. Close bracket, enter. So you can see it has shown a yes here because all three scores are above 90. If you drag that formula down, it has become a no here. Let's see why is it a no here. If C6 greater than 90, nope. D6 greater than 90, no. E6 greater than 90, no. Which is why it has resulted a no. Let us look at this. Why has it shown a yes here? Are all these three greater than 90? Yes. So what Excel does is the AND function, which is from here till here. We have three logical conditions which you put in the AND. C11 greater than 90, which is 1, D11 greater than 90, which is 2, and E11 greater than 90, which is 3. So all these three are true, which is why a yes is shown. Else it has to be shown a no. That is AND function. Let us look at the OR function now. Is equal to if. So what is the end result you want with the OR function? If any of them are above 90, you want it to show yes in this column. If not, it has to show no. So if or, the same logic that is used here, or instead of and, you're putting or. This greater than 90, this greater than 90, and E5 greater than 90. You're closing the OR bracket here and your logical test is closed. You put a comma. Value if true is yes and value if false is no. Let us just copy that formula down and go. You can see the first one is yes. Why? Because at least one value is above 90. You can see the second one is no. If or are either of these greater than 90? No. Let us look at this one. It has shown a no here and a yes here. Why is that? Because here and, which means all these three have to be true, only then a condition, or only then the value here will be shown. All these three are not true. Yes, 89, I mean 91 is greater than 90, but these two are not greater than 90, which is why it's showing a no here. But here it's showing a yes because the OR condition checks if any of these are true. So E8 greater than 90 is true, which is why it's showing a yes here. Similarly here, you can see it's showing both yeses. So it's showing an yes for all three above 90 because C14 greater than 90, yes. D14 greater than 90, yes. E14 greater than 90, yes. And it's showing a yes here too. The reason being, now for this formula, or it doesn't matter that all are above 90. At least one, if it is above 90, it's going to show a yes. Else it's going to be showing a no. That concludes and or. It's useful for checking multiple criteria. If we have any questions, we can clear it now, and then we'll move on to pivot tables.
Can I ask you one thing? Since we are referencing to all three cells like C5 to E5, right?
Yeah.
So we are referencing to those three cells. So is there a way to just not to repeat for every cell, because we are like referring to like every figure has to be greater than 90. So is there a way to just put it together C5 to C5 to E5 greater than 90, something like that? So is there a way? Did you get my point? Because we repeat it for each cell, right?
Yeah.
Each time we say like C5 greater than 90, D5 greater than 90,
Yeah.
and again E5 greater than 90. So can we just select like C2, you go to C2E, which is greater than 90 in one shot? Did you get my point?
I got it. Let me just see if there is a formula for that. I'm not sure if there is. Max. Okay, this is one way that you can work. Now, I am not sure how to combine the if and or to find out what you asked me, but we can use max A because what max A does is this. So max A, MAX, not MAX itself, but MAX A. it returns the largest value in a set of values. So let's say you are doing max A and you're selecting your values here. The highest value in the value that you selected is 99. Similarly, you go here, you can see 99 is there, 82 is the highest. So obviously these both are no for you. Here it's 87 because the highest value here is 87. And here 91 because the highest value is 91. So for the at least one above 90, Basan, this can help you. This max A can help you.
Okay, that's another way. But my question was not actually, I mean, this is an addition to what I was expecting, but I was expecting because in the first case, like if case or the or case, you were referring to three cells, no, which
Yeah,
are
three
greater
cells.
than 90.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, three cells. You are referring to the. So is there a way like to deal jointly for those three cells? Because every time we are repeating C5 greater than 90, again D5 greater than 90, and again
Hmm.
E5 again greater than 90. So could there be a way like to not to repeat all those things, but like going from C5 to E5 and then which is greater than 90, something like that. But this max
Uh,
is obviously a new one to me.
max A, okay. So about what
Okay.
you asked, I'm pretty sure pivot tables can help you. Now, anyways, since we're going to look
Oh,
at
I
pivot
see. Okay.
tables next, we can look at this too. But
Right. Okay.
okay. Anyways, we'll just try the formula since you asked me. We'll try C5 to E5 greater than 90. Okay, we'll just try
Yes.
and see what happens since we're all learning here. So is equal to if C5 to E5. Let's just check what happens. Is greater than 90. Show yes, else a no. Okay. It has taken all. Okay, so what this Excel's one new feature? There's a fill feature. It has copied automatically each one as an individually it's copying. It's not a yes for a single cell. You can see a yes, yes, yes is because all three are above 90. No, no, no is because all three are below 90. And a no, no, yes is because two are less than 90, one is above 90. So I'm pretty sure with pivot tables you can work out the way that you wanted, but with formulas, I do not know how we can work it out.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks.
Okay, so if there are any doubts, we can clear it now, else we will be moving on to pivot tables. Okay, we'll move to pivot tables now. Right. So pivot tables, you would have commonly heard that being used by different people. It's a very powerful feature. It's simple and powerful. So let's see where the function is. It's home, insert, draw. It's an insert. In insert, you see the first function shown here is pivot table. So you can see the description of pivot table here, easily arrange and summarize complex data in a pivot table. So let us display this entire value. I'm using the data from the if plus VLOOKUP sheet. We are taking the value from here.
No, not heard properly. So it's inaudible. Not audible.
Oh, 1 minute. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
It's fine. I'm not sure. I think Basan should say.
Okay. Oh, but Chipu, was it stuck for you before?
Yeah, for me, it's okay.
For you, okay. Okay. Basan, you can hear me clearly?
No,
Basan, can you?
I don't hear you. I mean, that's, I don't hear.
You can't hear me?
I'm very. I mean, it's not very laudable. So it's it's not popular. Okay, please go ahead with.
Yeah, just 1 second. Let me just try to do something. Can you hear me now better?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, perfect, fine. So, as we're saying about pivot tables, it's simple and powerful. Let us see how we get pivot tables. You go to insert, you get the first function here, which is pivot table. So what a pivot table does, okay, what is pivot table all about? It helps to summarize your data. You want to view it as a table, you can do that. You want to view it by filtering, you can do that. You want to see the data as a list, you can do that too. Now we're going to be selecting the data from the first sheet, which is the if plus we look up this sheet. We're going to be selecting this entire data. We're going to go to insert pivot table. So the first thing is choose the data that you want to analyze. Select a table or range. The table or range is here. That is, you can see if plus VLOOKUP is the name of the sheet here. So if it was sheet 1, it would be showing me sheet 1 here. And B4 to K20. B4 is where your employee code is, and K20 is the end of the table here. So B4 to K20 is here. You can ignore this for now. These I haven't used much myself personally, so I'm not going to explain that. New worksheet or existing worksheet. Existing worksheet means the worksheet is already there. It can be either this sheet or some other sheet. You can just copy the pivot table onto there. But I would recommend always use a new worksheet because pivot table is something that you have to manipulate a lot. So if there is any other data which is on your sheet, it can mess up the data. So new worksheet and you do okay. This is what is shown. Now, yeah, you can see there's a pivot table here. You can see first of all that a new sheet has opened up here, sheet 3. And there's a pivot table here. It says to build a report, choose fields from the pivot table field list, which is on the right side here. So pivot table fields are here. You can see this employee code, first name, second name, full name. All these are the headers from this sheet. Employee code, first name, second name, and the last is percentage of deduction in both of them. And you can see its percentage of deduction here. So all these are your data which is coming from that sheet. Now you can see drag fields between the areas below. There's filters, there's columns, there's rows and values. So as you know, for any table, there is rows and there is columns. Just explaining it once in case there is anyone who is confused. Columns are these vertical ones. So this is column G, column H, column J. Row is this, the horizontal one. Row number 8, row number 16, row number 20. So let us start working on the pivot table. The you can manipulate data, like I told you, you can manipulate data as you want. Now let us say, okay, this is the data. Let us say what you want is this. You have so many departments here. You have accounting, you have purchase, you have engineering, you have audit, 4 departments. And there are certain salaries here. Now, from the last session, you would remember that if you use the sum if formula, you can find out easily, or using filters, you can find out what is the sum of accounting, purchasing, and all this. But a much faster and much more dynamic way where you can work with that data is, let's say what you want is the departments and the sum of salaries. So you would take department, not put in filters. You can put in columns if you want, but I'm putting in rows for now. So department is in rows. You can see all the departments have come here. Okay. You can see all the departments have come here. Accounting, audit, engineering, and purchase. All the departments are shown here. Now, what you want is you want to put the salary also. So you have department, but you want a salary also. We put the salaries in values. What you can see is automatically the salary sum is shown here. Now let's just quickly check if that is correct. It's showing me that the sum of all the salaries paid to all the departments is 8,200, sorry, 82,702. Let's just quickly check that. The total of all these would be 82,702, which is correct. So as we said, rows, department, salaries, I have put in values. I'll just undo this and show it to you once again. Right now, this is the default view for the pivot table. We want to put the departments and you want to see what is the salary that you're paying to each department. So you put department in rows and you put salary in values. You can see that is the total amount that is paid to accounting, the total paid to audit, the total paid to engineering, etc. What happens if you put the department in columns? You drag the department onto columns. It's the exact same thing. It's just a better view if you put it in rows. So here you can see accounting 20,000, audit 14,000. The total is still the same, 82,702. So now I'm just moving the department down. Now, if you look at this data, you can see you have Emirates, there is Sharjah, Dubai, Ajman, Abu Dhabi. Let us say you want to find out what is the sum that you're paying to different departments in different Emirates. So you have accounting in Sharjah, you have purchase in Dubai, but you have purchase in Sharjah too. So let us say you want to find out what is the amount, total amounts that you're paying to different departments in different Emirates. So what we can do for that is this. The department is already done here in rows. So I can put emirate in the column. And you can see the total amount is still same. It's 82,702. So what has happened here? Abu Dhabi, which is emirate, Ajman, which is emirate, all these has come as column headers because I have put it as column headers here. And accounting, audit, engineering, purchase being department names, all I have put as rows, and salary is shown as sum. So the total that we're paying for our accounting department in Abu Dhabi is 5,100. The total you're paying for your engineering department, which is in Sharjah, is 15,800. And the total that you're paying for your purchase in Dubai is 5,000. This is a very, very, very basic explanation of how pivot tables work. Now, yeah. Now, all this is there. Let us say, like I said, you want to switch the row and column. So you're going to put emirate here, you're going to put department there, and you can see it's the exact same thing, but we have just transposed the values. You can see Abu Dhabi is showing 5,100, Ajman 4,200 for accounting. The total is still showing as 82,702. Let us say you want to see only for Dubai. You don't want to see the 4 Emirates, you want to see only for Dubai. So then what you can do is you can go to the filter here, which has almost the same options as your filters, which we saw in the previous sessions. If you want only for Dubai, you would unselect all and click only Dubai. And when you click OK, you can see the values have come only for Dubai. It seems there is no accounting section in Dubai. Let's just quickly check that. Accounting. So we're going to filter accounting. Since you're all familiar with this, we're just going to filter accounting quickly. And you can see, yes, there is no accounting section in Dubai. So right now we're looking at Dubai. The total that's paid is 16,900. The value paid to audit is 5,800, engineering 6,100, and so on. So this is pivot tables. Let me just remove the filter here. Yes, you can manipulate data as you want. There are two mistakes that happen with pivot tables. Just like we looked at VLOOKUP last week, there are two mistakes that can happen with pivot tables. There are plenty, but two common ones. Let's see. Now, as you saw, this was the base data. So from B4 all the way till K20 is here. Now let us say you are adding a row here. You're adding data here. So we're going to put an employee code AJ9. We're going to be putting a name William Paul, and the full name is shown here. The department you're going to put as audit. The salary we're going to put as 8,900. Oops, sorry. Okay, 8,900. And number of years in the company I'm going to put as 8, and I'm going to put Emirate residence as Sharjah, and the VLOOKUP and index match is also here. So I have added this. Now William Paul, right? Let's just see if that person's salary is shown here. So before that, one way we can check is this. You remember the salary of the employee still now was 82,702. So when you take the salaries of all the employees till William, you can see the salary is coming to 82,702. We have not selected the last one yet. Let us check another view. So we're going to take the full name of all employees as the rows. We're going to remove the emirate. We're going to remove department. We're going to be just looking at each employee and the sum of salary so far. You can see the last name that we added, right? William Paul with salary 8,900. That doesn't seem to be here. If you look at it closely, there is William McDonald, which is another person, but William Paul is not written anywhere. So how do you fix that? When you go to pivot table analyze, you can see you have these many options here. You can see there is refresh and change data source. We would have to change our data source. When you click this, you can see the table ranges here. As we saw before, if plus VLOOKUP is a sheet name, B4 to K20, which is B4 to K20 is still here. But we have added one more row now, haven't we? So we have to make it till K21. So we change this K20 and you make it into K21. And you do OK. You can see now William Paul salary is shown here and the grand total has changed here. This is one common mistake that is there among people who use VLOOKUP. When we add a data here, we forget sometimes to update the data source in the VLOOKUP. So in the pivot table, sorry. So you would have to make sure that you do add this, you do change the data source here. Let us look at one more mistake that is commonly made. Let us look at this. Let us look at this person, James Brown. So James Brown is currently getting 3,100, right? Let's change his salary. Let's give him sort of an increment. So James Brown is getting 3,100. We're going to give him 5,000. Okay. We have changed James Brown's salary from 3,100 to 5,000. Let us look if that is there in our sheet right now. James Brown, you can still see that the value is shown as 3,100. Now, this can be a little bit confusing for us because when you look at formulas, we saw some, if we look at sum, average, we look up, data changes automatically. But in pivot table, that does not happen. So you have to make sure that once you manipulate your base data in some way, you have to go to the pivot table, analyze. You don't need to change your data source. You just need to click on refresh. So when I clicked on refresh now, you can see James Brown's salary has changed to 5,000. That concludes what we're going to look at VLOOKUP today, because else it's going to get a lot deeper. Do we have any doubts?
Silas, can I add one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, those are the two shortcomings that you shared. So could there be other way or any way to address that instead of like refreshing data or changing the data source? Is there any way?
I didn't get you. I didn't understand your
No,
question.
no, actually, I just shared that. I mean, once we like add rows or data, no, it is not automatically added to that summarization, right?
Yeah.
So for that purpose, either we need to change, I mean, change the source data
Or refresh,
so as
yeah.
to cover all the data set that is increasing. And
Yes.
the other thing is, so is there a way to do differently than just changing the data source every time?
No, I do not know. There could be some way, but I do
Okay.
not know
Oh, so
of
in
anything.
that point, I would like to add one more thing. So for that to happen, so what we can do is we can just select the table. I mean,
Okay.
for example, the table. Okay, can you go to the first table? Can you go
The
to
first one.
that
Okay, yeah.
if plus VLOOKUP table? I
Okay.
mean data set. Okay, and once you select that data, can you just select that data set, whole data set?
Okay. Okay, fine.
From employee code until that. Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
select. Okay, fine. Then press the button Control T.
Control
Control
T.
T.
Okay.
Control T.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have
then
it.
okay. So
Yeah,
that
I have used
creates a table feature.
yeah.
So okay, control now. Okay, enter. Okay, can you just
Uh, okay, yeah, this function
okay?
we can use it, but the reason I
No,
haven't
no, no. Just press that. Okay.
yeah, I know what happens when you press OK. It's a table, and then automatically the data gets updated.
Yeah,
But the reason
automatically. I mean, automatically the data set is updated,
yeah,
and it
but
also creates a space for entering the data. Uh, can you just do it once? I mean, can you just okay
yeah, sure.
press
Okay.
okay?
So when you press OK, you can see this is there. And like you're saying, if you add a row here, automatically it includes in the table and it gets
Yes,
updated in the
yes,
VLOOKUP in the pivot table too.
yes. And
Yes.
this is also an additional feature that every time you don't have to like move your cursor from here to there, because that cursor automatically moves to that delineated space, because this table has already got the delineation, no,
Mm.
from this column to D to column J or JK, something like that. So that returns automatically. The cursor returns automatically to the following row.
Yeah. So this one, I was actually thinking of teaching it next week when we're doing
Oh, I
tables.
see. I might have like
No, that is
jumped
a
to this.
yeah, that is the reason we didn't look at tables, because when we look at tables, there's a lot more things that change. It's for pivot tables, yes, it is more helpful, and formulas, everything it works differently when you put tables. It's actually better working with tables. But the reason I didn't tell about this was because it was something that we're not going to look at today. But yes, as you said, tables definitely help you much more in pivot tables because your data automatically refreshes, your data automatically, if you add a row or a column, it automatically gets included in the data source for the pivot table. So yeah, tables are actually more helpful when you're using pivot tables. Do we have any other doubts regarding any of the things that was taught today? If not, we're done for today. But if there are any doubts, we have time to clear that.
Yeah, Cyrus, I think it's done.
Then okay.
Nothing else to
Uh,
do.
okay, fine. So we are going to be ending today's session then. I'll just do stop share now. Yeah, we're going to be ending today's session here. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me now, or you can message me privately, and then we can clear it out later. If not, if is there anything else? I'm just keeping a minute open. Is there any other doubts we have to clear now? Okay. If that's all, then we'll be ending our session for today.